Finally, the day has come that I get to put my transmission and transfer case together into one unit. Now, the way I'm doing this is I'm setting up a Turbo 350 as the transmission. It's an automatic 3-speed, and I'm also using a Dana 18. Now, for most of you out there, if you've dealt with Dana transfer cases, you know that the Dana 18 and Dana 20, they're pretty decent transmissions, pretty burly, big gears, big splines, that sort of thing. But these parts were never designed to go together. So my friends over at Advanced Adapters have sent me the proper adapter to put these two pieces together. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look in this box, and I'm going to show you a little bit about those components, what they do, and then we're going to put the two together. Now, the first component in the box is the biggest component, and that is your adapter itself. The back portion, this portion here, abuts to the Turbo 350, and then this side abuts to the Dana 18 or Dana 20, depending on which setup that you have. Now, it's all billet aluminum. It looks like it's machined out of a block. It's actually really nice stuff. A little bit on the expensive side, but if you're doing this application where you're putting these two parts together, this or nothing. The next part in the box is going to be the stub shaft or spline that abuts the Turbo 350's output shaft, which is a four-wheel drive output shaft, which means that 1/4 of an inch sticks out past the casing. This will slide onto that, and then this end goes into the Dana 18, your normal gear that splines you into the four-wheel drive, and then your spline nut. Now, this is 6 teeth. There are a couple different versions out there, so if you're ordering, be sure you order the right one. Next is the sealed Dana 18 bearing. This is important because with a Dana 18 and a T90 or a T14, depending on the transmission that you were using in your Jeep originally, they share the same oil. That means oil from the transmission gets kicked up along the output shaft into the transfer case and vice versa, which means that you don't want to share ATF with a gear oil based transfer case. So this sealed bearing is going to stop any fluid from getting through and into the rear of the transfer case. Now they want to make sure that that doesn't leak at all, so they give you a whole host of components, from a separate bearing for the actual output shaft itself from the transmission. They give you a seal to keep all the fluid completely out because they do want it to be as clean as possible. Finally, they give you a bearing, retaining ring, and bolts to bolt it together. That means that this kit is all inclusive. It's got all the pieces you need to put your two units together. Now, if you have questions, Advanced Adapters has a wonderful website, as well as Novak Adapters has a lot of good details on the Dana 18, Dana 20, and Turbo 350 combinations that you can do. They also sell a version that abuts a Turbo 400, or if you have some other sort of transmission like a C4 or a C6 for a Ford, those can also be abutted with special adapters. I chose the Turbo 350 because it has both the Buick bolt pattern, which for my Dauntless V6 is what I'm going to need, and it also has the Chevy bolt pattern. So if I ever want to take this V6 out, I can throw a V8 in right behind it. Everything downstream will work without an issue, but I'll still have all the benefits of that Turbo 350. Now, the version I have actually has the electronic lockup for the converter. A lot of people say, oh no, don't do the electronic lockup, but for me, I'm going to be towing a little bit with it. I'm also going to be driving it back and forth to different places. I'll be using a toggle switch for that. Or, in most cases, you can just never flip it on. Now, the engine doesn't really like to run with that slippage at higher RPMs, and that's what the lockup's for, but this transmission is going to hold up great. Like I said, check out Novak, check out also Advanced Adapters. Their sites are great, they're super helpful, and they'll help you find the best solution to your problems.
I wanted to go ahead and clean up the transfer case. This was more just for mock-up, not for actual installation. I'm going to be painting this before I attach it to the transmission, so I just wanted to be able to mock it together instead of actually getting grit and grime all over everything. Believe it or not, reading through the instructions is very important. It showed me which way to put in the seals so that the oil would not pass through. Putting in the outer seal first, followed by the inner seal. The inner seal is very important because the bearing actually can come in contact with it, so it has to be seated all the way down until it's flush with the mounting surface. Test fitting the spline. this little spindle. I need to go ahead and press the bearing on it. Luckily I have a press from a friend of mine. It pressed on nice and easy, and then inserted a snap ring to make sure that it doesn't separate itself. Now I'm pressing the large bearing into the actual housing of the adapter itself, and then we're going to go ahead and pop this on the transmission just to see how it looks. Check in for the next installment of this project. I'm going to be painting everything and getting installed into the Jeep forward control. It'll be pretty slick. I can't wait to get this sucker on the road. See you soon.